Bridging Gaps, the business podcast with Deborah Levitt, sharing the challenges and stories of fellow business owners. On this week's episode, I'm joined by Paul Rayner. Paul is a habit and health coach who works with people one-to-one to improve their health and nutrition. Hi, Paul. How are you?
Hello. Very well. Very good. Thank you.
Excellent. It's really great to have you on and to be talking to you a bit more about your business and how you've got to where you are today and what you're planning on doing. Do you want to just share with people what it is that you do?
Yes. So I have a very small business called Habit and Health. It is online health coaching. So it kind of involves a range of things, primarily based around nutrition coaching, focusing on building healthy habits, with the sort of spin-off of looking at sort of resilience and also a little bit about mind health as well. Currently, it's focused around one-to-one coaching. Mm-hmm. So I see all of my clients online via Skype or via like a little app that I have. And yeah, I'm sure we'll discuss what I want to work towards a little bit later.
We will do. So how did you get into this, Paul? I think that you started off with a degree in sport and exercise science, but then you went into being a research exercise scientist?
So there was a few years in between that.
Okay.
So, I did a degree in sport and exercise science, graduated in 2009, had a little bit of time off, and then just the usual, didn't really know what I wanted to do. Did I want to do anything in sport or nutrition, all that sort of stuff? And then I got a job in a gym in 2010. So just sort of right at the bottom, cleaning machines, all of that sort of stuff. A little bit of fitness instruction. Did that for about a year. That took me to about 2011. And then decided to go alone. So I decided to become a personal trainer. And I liked the idea of working for myself and going to people's houses and training at their houses and in parks and things like that. So I did, trained to be a personal trainer, did that for about a year. And then I started that research exercise science role. That was a Great Ormond Street Hospital, working with kids who have cystic fibrosis. So did that for about 2.5 years. And then that was just like a fixed term contract because the research was only 2.5 years long.
And so was that looking at how, I can't guess what it was about. So what was it doing with the children?
It's basically an exercise intervention. So it was just looking at how exercise can help children with cystic fibrosis in terms of life quality, but also their lung function. So just looking at other ways of treating them other than just medication. And as far as I'm aware, it's currently being written up and hopefully published and all that sort of stuff soon. But that was a great job, really good. After that, I went back to personal training, and so that was 2013. Was it that? No, 2015. Sorry. So yeah, going to people's houses, parks, a little bit of nutrition coaching, health assessments, that sort of stuff. Did that for about 2 years. And whilst I was doing that, that's when I started Habit and Health, or started the idea of it and started to try and get things going. And then, so it's just been building up since then, I guess.
So what led you into thinking about, habit and health and that combination of, so from my experience of personal trainers, they're largely focused on the physical aspects and, the exercise that you're doing, though with some, depending on who I've spoken to, with some awareness or encouragement around the diet side, but more just on that physical side. So what took you into more of the nutrition coaching and the habits around that?
I guess it was just my interest, really. I did a course with a company called Precision Nutrition over the course of 2 years, and they kind of coach you to become a nutrition coach. And it's all based around behavior change, kind of like an anti-diet approach. So doing that course really got me into it. And And when I was personal training, I was just finding when I was doing the nutrition coaching with clients, I was enjoying that a lot more than actual delivering the exercise. So it kind of made sense to put my efforts into something else and see if that would work.
And is it something that you've struggled with personally? Have you found, I know that, looking at you now, that you're very fit and healthy, that you've done, and I think possibly still do, some modeling. And, so first impression would be that nutrition and health isn't something that you've personally been challenged with. But is there anything that you've found challenging yourself?
I think everyone can have challenges for food. Everyone, regardless of how they look. But to be honest, I don't have one of those regular stories, or I've had all of these challenges and I've come through them, and now I've started a company to help other people. Unfortunately, I'd love to have that story, but I don't.
I think it's better not to have that story.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess since pretty much since I started getting into fitness instructing about 8 years ago, it's really just been a learning process. So I'd say in my uni days and before fitness instructing, before I started learning things, I wasn't eating very well. I wasn't eating particularly healthy. But over the course of 8 years, I've just gradually learnt more and I guess found a way that works for me. Just kind of fits in with my lifestyle, that sort of thing.
And do you practice what you preach? Do you use a lot of the habits and the guidance that you give to people?
Definitely. Yeah, of course. I mean, in that respect, I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't. Yeah, and I think the way to think about habits is that they're kind of a vehicle to start with. So with some things, like maybe even just my diet and health eating, I don't really think of them as habits anymore because they do become second nature over time, over the years. But I think they're a good starting point for people, rather than giving people like a fixed diet approach. I think changing small things, working on habits helps a lot better. And it certainly helped for me. So yeah, I guess in the past I would have changed my breakfast slightly, just focused on that for like a few months, and then worked on something else.
And I know, so just for people who are listening, I am actually working with Paul. He was introduced to me by another person that I interviewed fairly recently as well. And one of the things that I actually like about it is the fact that we're working on fairly small habits. They're nothing. If you looked at them individually, to me, there's nothing life-shattering or earth-shattering, I think is the phrase, about it. But I can see things starting to change. But what I'm finding is that some of my friends and things are almost challenging me. And I'm going, yeah, I know it's slow. Yes, I know I'm not getting instant results, but I'm recognizing the changes that are starting to take place. And I don't know, do you find that with other clients as well, that they get this kind of what they think and what their support network thinks?
Absolutely, of course. And what I think and what the client thinks is obviously very different as well. But yeah, that's one thing that stands out is the slowness. People want results tomorrow. People want results yesterday, and unfortunately, it's just the kind of world that we live in now. We can get whatever we want this week, but unfortunately, changing those sort of. I mean, I'm not saying people can't get results in very short amounts of time, but what I'm saying is that to get good results that last for a long period of time. Requires hard, consistent work, even if that is slow and steady and easy as you're going along. But yeah, no, it's definitely something that comes up quite a lot. But I've seen it work. I've seen it work really well in so many clients. I think one thing to say is that anyone can change how they look. They can get incredible results in 8 weeks if they change everything. The problem is what happens after that. And the sort of the most interesting results that I've had are the clients that I've had for 1 to 2 years who have made those really small changes, but in the end, they've had those big results. And with that, they've changed the habits around them. So they've changed how they cook, all those sort of things. They've learned a lot as well. They've not just been given something to do.
And I think that's what really stands out for me, because a few years ago, I did do one of the really fast changes, and I was successful. You know, in a fairly short period, I lost a substantial amount of weight. And I really, you know, I did benefit from that. The quality of my life and the things that I could do and wanted to do, you know, were dramatically different. And I think my friends and family benefited from it as well. But as you say, I hadn't made the changes to the habits, and it just slowly, you know, has crept back on, which is why I'd hesitated about starting something new until, you know, reading a little bit about you and speaking to you. And that idea of that is actually in my head. It's not my body that's the problem, it's the head. And unless I can sort my head out and establish those habits, then it's not going to happen long term. So how do you tend to find your clients, Paul? Is it through referrals? Is it through, you know, speaking to people, or how are you locating these people?
Yeah, a mixture. So yeah, a few through word of mouth. Obviously, you were by word of mouth. But then just online. So I do a little bit of Google marketing, a bit of Facebook marketing, and then just inquiries online through that.
And how do you find people's reaction to it being online? So while it's face-to-face with Skype or whichever app you're using, are they hesitant about it, or do they, you know, think, oh yeah, that's absolutely fine?
It depends on the person completely. I think using Skype and those sort of things they're just going to become more sort of common. I mean, you're seeing it in GP practices. People are seeing GPs online. I think a lot of health professionals are going online, and the more we use it, and I think the more people will get used to it and sort of become more comfortable with it. But yeah, it really just depends on the person and their sort of comfort level with talking to someone online, because it is slightly different to being face to face with someone. But yeah, no, I think that's pretty much it on that. Yeah.
And where are you looking to go with the business? I think you mentioned something about an online course coming soon.
Yeah, I didn't know I told you that. I'm not sure.
Did you not? You put it in your notes.
Oh, did I? Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Do you want to talk about it?
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. No, absolutely, yeah, you're absolutely right. Yes, so it's something I've been working on for a while now. It's kind of just a combination of all the things that I've learned, and I just want to put it all in one place, and also just to provide a little bit of scale beyond one-to-one sessions. So yeah, just to give you sort of a bit of information about it, it's a 12-week course. It's kind of just about looking after yourself. So pretty much all the stuff that we've been talking about already. So it's got the sort of foundation of nutrition, primarily focusing on nutrition habits and behaviors rather than changing what you eat.
Okay.
Of that in there. But I say 50% of it is also based around resilience. So the mindset type of stuff, just because that's so important in terms of not just looking after yourself and feeling good in life, but also it helps the nutrition side of things as well, and the physical aspect. So yeah, I'm just building the content for that now, about halfway through. And yeah, so it's going to be basically on an app. So it's quite a cool little app that you get. And it's kind of just focused on change and trying to promote behavior change as much as possible. So it's got sort of functions for a community on there. It's got a little bit of gamification, and there's a sort of a method to build habits on there and tick them off, those sort of things. And then you have access to the coach as well. So I'll be there helping people out, that sort of thing.
So will it be something that you're doing with a group of other people, that there's so is it me using the app and I'm just tracking my things, I've got access to you, or is it me with access to the other people who are using it as well and also with access to you?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, so both. Yeah, so you go through a 12-week course, and each day you'll have a different lesson about something, and then the heavy emphasis on this is the action and the practices. So at the end of each lesson, you'll get something to work on. On top of that, you'll have a habit for that week that you'll work on. But yeah, so you can post to the community pictures and comments and thoughts. Other people can see that. They can talk to you. I can talk to both of you. So yeah, it's kind of like a group thing.
And Paul, you've mentioned resilience a couple of times. What do you mean by resilience?
It's a good question. I should have googled that before I.
Sorry.
No, you're right. No, it's. I guess it's being resilient is again with me. It's all about prevention. So it's having that resilience to not let things boil over in terms of anxiety, depression, stress. So I guess those sort of critical things, and having sort of that healthy mindset, or even just strategies to help you be a more resilient person. So yeah, you can be more resilient through what you eat, through exercise, through mindfulness, or even just your attitude and the way you think. And I think, yeah, I think that those are all really important things in terms of resilience.
Okay. Yeah. And I know one of the things that you always do to me is when we start our sessions is that I'm quite often going, oh my God, it's all been horrible. And you're always going, well, what was good?
I mean, as humans, we have a negativity bias. I'm sure we talked about this already, but yeah, we tend to err towards the negativity, and it's just natural. It's just natural. And the more we can focus on bright spots, positive things, not only will we feel a little bit better, but we'll probably take a bit more action as well. So the more we can do that, the better.
Yeah. And I know I've definitely found that when I'm doing something or I've done something and I feel better for it and want to do more, it does, as you say, lead you to what is it? Is it success breeds success? I'm not sure that's the saying I was going for, but I think it works.
Right.
So with the training and the course, are you looking to remain, I guess, yourself? I mean, just one person, but working with some groups, working with some individuals as well, or do you have plans or goals to go wider in the coaching world?
Yeah, it's definitely a goal to grow bigger, and I'm not saying huge, but I think it would be great to get to a point where I could get a freelance coach. If the group's got big enough to have another coach on there as well, helping me, or even just have separate groups.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, getting to a point where I could have 2 or 3 coaches, that would be awesome. I really like that.
Give you the benefit of helping more people.
Exactly. Yeah. That's definitely.
And do you find that the habits that you're teaching around nutrition and health, that they're applicable to other areas of people's lives?
What do you mean? What other areas?
I think just generally it's maybe not the specific habit itself, but the idea of the habit and a small change towards them. So either in their business or, really any other area.
So do you mean that you could apply the sort of the framework and the structure to other things?
Yes, and the way that you're applying them. So while the habit itself might be different, the structure, as you say, is the same. One other thing, Paul, can you not click the pen?
Sorry, I'll put the pen down.
It comes through really strongly, so I know when somebody's listening to it, they'll be thinking, "What's that noise?"
Thinking pen. Yeah, sorry, the pen's away. Can't think now. My thinking pen.
Sorry, I'll repeat that bit again. So it's about applying the habit, and the as you said, the framework and the structure.
Yeah.
And applying that structure to other aspects of somebody's life, whether it's their work life or whatever it is.
Sure, absolutely. I think anything. I think you could apply it to anything. Yeah, you could put in your business goals, and then you could break down all the habits into step ladders. I think the principles they're principles really. So I think they can apply to anything. So yeah, the key ones for building habits would be focusing on step ladders. So those will be the small habits that they're challenging, but they're very achievable and they're easy. And then those sort of small chunks end up at the goal. And I think one of the sort of, well, obviously you get business coaches as well. So the coach for accountability, but also adding the community aspect helps with accountability as well. So yeah, I think you could apply it to anything.
Well, and it's something I've noticed as you and I have been talking together, that some of the things you tell me, I think it's kind of ironic because it's stuff that I tell clients. And yet my ability to apply it to myself and my, sort of personal well-being, it doesn't seem to make the translation. So as you're saying it, I'm thinking, okay, yeah, I suppose I should have been able to figure that one out. But I guess it's sometimes having somebody else help you to actually see what might actually be right in front of you, but you can no longer see it. You're so used to it.
It's so true. Yeah, so true. And I think that's kind of the moral of the story with kind of the state of fitness and health and well-being is we've all got so much information. We all know everything. We all know the best way to eat. We all know what to do. It's just doing it. And where possible, yeah, I think action and practice and experimentation are far more important and equally as difficult. So we need to try and think of ways to increase action, increase practice, so we can actually do things and actually make the changes. So yeah, accountability, having a coach, having a community, trying to think of those principles that can help you take action, because without action, nothing changes, unfortunately. Everyone's an expert on diets and nutrition now, but you're not necessarily an expert if you haven't got the experience with it, and you're not going to change if you don't take action.
And it's something that I spoke in when I was speaking to a business coach, actually. And I said, I didn't want to sound, arrogant or a know-it-all, but I know what I need to do. So knowing what you need to do is one thing, because as you say, we've got all of this information, but taking that action, doing it, and continuing to do it as well is the really challenging bit.
Definitely. No, you're right. Yeah, you can do it. Yeah, you can do it for a short time, but the consistency is really key. Definitely.
So, well, from a business perspective, have you found in terms of, setting up your own business? So you were in the gym initially, then you went into the research exercise scientist, and then you went, back into personal training before you moved into this area. So you haven't really been in a lot of people I speak to have come from a corporate background and have come out of corporate and started up, but you haven't really gone through that transition, but you have made a transition to what you're doing now. So I'm just wondering how you found those changes in your career as you've gone along.
Yeah, that's a good question. I've had a lot of jobs since I started working at 15 years old. I've had a lot of jobs, and I do struggle with I shouldn't say this, I do struggle with staying in a job, like an office job or that sort of thing. So yeah, I think the reason that I'm attracted to this sort of thing and personal training, working for myself, is I think you can be more creative. I think there's just that element of creativity, even working as a freelance personal trainer for myself. At the end of the day, I have to get clients, otherwise the bills don't get paid, and I have to do everything, and I do like that. So yeah, I think I've worked out over the years that I just enjoy working for myself, and especially with one-to-one coaching, every conversation is different, and every client is different as well. So yeah, it's one thing that's held me the longest, definitely.
And do you find, with as you said, when you're working for yourself, you have to do everything, or to at least acknowledge what needs to be done and hire somebody, as an outsource or a VA or whatever. Has that just evolved for you into knowing about doing things like social media, or do they play fairly small parts in your business life?
Social media?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't do it. I don't do enough of it, really. When I see certain people, or certain friends that have doing their own things, yeah, they're way better at that stuff than me. Yeah, I think we're all guilty of focusing on certain things more than others, definitely. And this is a case in point of knowing what you need to do, but not necessarily doing it. Yeah, but no, I do enjoy those things, definitely. But I think you need to keep the main thing. And for me, at the moment, the main thing is just getting this course done, because hopefully it's going to form my core offer, as it were. So yeah, I'd like to get that done, and that's my sort of focus at the moment.
Well, and I know that a lot of coaches as well, of all different types of coaching, start off with something which is online, which is a group, and then they have other offers which are the one-to-one, and which give them that balance between being able to reach more people, but equally still being able to work on a more intimate, a closer relationship one-to-one, which is also very rewarding.
That's exactly, and that's the kind of the balance that I'm going for, is the balance between those two things, definitely.
So what do you, from a business perspective, what have you had any particular challenges? So for me, when I started, I wasn't necessarily clear about what I was offering. I didn't, I kind of came out of my contracting life and was like, I'll just do this. And it took a lot for me to figure out who I was targeting and what I was trying to offer them. And even now that continues to evolve. So for me, that was a challenge. And networking as well was a big challenge in terms of trying to find clients. So have you had, not necessarily those, but have you found, certain things challenging, or continuing to find them challenging from a business side?
Yeah, I think actually what you said there in terms of knowing who to target and that sort of thing, and as you said, they're a constant challenge. It's ongoing, more than it's just that was a big thing that happened and nothing after. But I think initially it was just it was sort of having the idea in my head and then just committing to it. I think that was, for me, that was one of the biggest things, was it's just having that commitment to go from personal training to this, or even just obviously transitioning over a year or so, and just saying, because you kind of think in your head, this should be a good idea. There's other people doing it, but actually committing and going for it was just a challenge in itself. And buying the domain and starting to get clients and that sort of thing, it's definitely a challenge for sure.
It's difficult sometimes, isn't it, when you think that you know what you want to do, but making that leap, especially if you're in something that is working, that is paying the bills, and is giving you a level of satisfaction, whether it's exactly where you want to be or not. It's
it is true. And I guess when I was in London as a personal trainer for myself, I really, really enjoyed it. And I got a lot of satisfaction from it. And it was kind of just sort of thinking about why do I want to do that? Why do I want to do this when I have a great life? I really enjoy myself, and I have a great job and great business or whatever. Why am I trying to do this next thing? But I think it's more just ongoing challenges rather than any sort of big crazy things, because it's just me. It's just those ongoing things of, will this work, or what do I want to do next, or getting clients, or how can I get clients in a different way, those sort of things.
And do you see yourself as an entrepreneur, or do you see yourself as just somebody who is looking for ways to earn money that fit with what you like doing and what you're good at?
Probably the latter, I'd say. I think I don't know if there's a definition of entrepreneur, but I think until I get beyond one-to-one sessions, I don't think I'd feel like one. So maybe, yeah, if I get this course going and it, generates some business, then I'll start feeling a bit more entrepreneurial, I think.
Well, it's funny because the reason I asked was that it does, to me, where you're saying, you were doing the personal training that was successful, and then it wasn't a question of it not being successful or you being unhappy with it, but you wanted a new challenge. And that's what made me think of whether that is, I think everybody's an entrepreneur if they're running their own business in some, way, shape, or form. But I think that need or desire to keep starting new things and developing those is something that for me resonates as an entrepreneur. And that's what triggered the question.
Yeah, no, that's, I suppose if that's the definition of it, then yes.
It's my definition.
Okay. I'll take that. Yeah.
Well, I don't know what Google has to say on the matter.
I definitely like starting new things and working on different things, and I'm just trying to spend more time on doing one thing at a time, focusing, and then I can move on if I need to.
Yes, if you've got something established. So what about something that comes up a lot for people is actually the loneliness aspect of it. So, the fact that they're working by themselves, and even if they're working, as a coach and they're working with other people, that's a business relationship, a client relationship. And having those people around to bounce ideas off of, to just have vent if you need to, or to get ideas and insights, can be challenging if you're working from home. And as you said, you do a lot of your coaching online. Have you, do you find any of that, or do you have ways of dealing with making sure you get the interaction you need?
Yes, I've had a few people say that, and especially when I was in London, just working for myself as a PT, a lot of friends would say, "Oh, I couldn't do that. I couldn't work from home by myself," all that sort of thing. But it's never really been an issue for me. I guess I'm partly introverted, which helps. I'm quite a thinky person, which I guess helps as well. But yeah, I think I'm quite good with my personal well-being, so I do other things to keep me sane. So I meditate, I exercise, I get outdoors, those things. But when I was in London, one thing that did help was having a couple of friends who worked for themselves as well. So particularly one who I'd see most weeks, like every week for brunch, and have a good catch up. And he has a roofing company in London, in South London, and it was just good to catch up with him and listen to all his stories and his week, and because he's in the same boat, he works for himself, and so it's never really bothered me.
No, which is absolutely fantastic, because a number of people that I've spoken to have have experienced it and have found that is the major challenge, is that the idea of working for yourself is kind of, rose-colored glasses. It's all wonderful, and I can just go out and all I'm going to do is train people. And then they get hit by the reality of, oh, shoot, I've got to find some clients. I've got to pay my bills. I've got to invoice them. And hang on, I'm doing it over the phone, so I'm always at home and I never talk to anybody. So for some people that actually, it's not necessarily that it becomes a problem. It's just that it actually does have a negative impact on them, and finding a way around it, has been necessary. But it sounds like yours has just, I was going to say evolved, and I don't really mean evolved. I think it's almost like you've just managed it without realizing that you're managing it, because it's just, well, I've got this friend, I can have a chat with them. That filled that gap.
I think, with the loneliness side of things, I'm absolutely fine. But if you're talking more of like the financial and having enough clients for the bills, I think I have managed that slightly. So I was working part-time and then built up clients, and then I left that job. And then I was quite sort of focused on keeping above a certain level of clients. And if I dropped near that, then I'd be a lot more proactive in getting clients. And yeah, I think, yeah, I just sort of had that sort of, yeah, just that sort of
that kind of a line where if I start getting close to this line, I need to go out and get somebody else on board.
exactly, yeah. And as long as I was comfortable in that, it was absolutely fine. But I can totally see if you're just doing your business and you're struggling with clients and I can totally see how that can get affect your well-being and stress very, very quickly. Yeah, definitely.
And you talked a little bit about your well-being and what you do to look after yourself. Do you want to just talk a little bit more about how you, well, what you do, and also how you make sure that you are making time for yourself? Because again, for a lot of people that I've spoken to, that actually requires quite a bit of focus. And and I guess I'm just curious, as it's your job, does it naturally flow into your life as well, or do you have to put those habits in place?
Yeah, I have to put the habits in place, definitely. I don't just spring out of bed and go to the gym or anything like that. But I make it easier for myself. So yeah, over the last few years, I've been sort of created my own sort of well-being planner. So every morning I do a little bit of like journaling in terms of like gratitudes, those sort of things. But also I create a little section of like movement, mind, and then relaxation. So they're just tick boxes. So I just tick it off if I've done it for the day. And if I haven't, then I know that I've not done it. So it's just that sort of very small accountability to myself and my well-being planner. So yeah, I try and do like a 15-20 minute meditation on Headspace every day. I've got some gym equipment in my garage, which means I don't have to go to a gym or go elsewhere to exercise. Try and do that for half an hour to an hour every day, and then something relaxing in the evening. So a bath or a little bit of stretching.
So just little things that you know how to do them. Sorry, not how, but you know how you can fit them in easily. And with the accountability bit, with the the checklist of the three areas, do you, if you haven't done it that day, is it just a reminder of, oh, okay, hang on, I missed today, I need to try and make sure I do that tomorrow? It's just a little.
Absolutely, yeah. It's just I mean, some days I don't even fill the page out. It's just a different page. I put the date at the top. I do it all from scratch, and often there's days I miss 2 days, and I'm like, I know that I've missed those 2 days. It doesn't mean I've not exercised, but it probably does mean that I've not done any meditation or I've not done the journaling, those sort of things. So it's more just of a reminder for myself, rather than beating myself up and saying, "Oh, you're rubbish. You missed that day. You ruined the week."
You might just as well give up on the rest of the week and start on Monday.
Start January next year. It's just tracking for me, and also with the journaling, I can look back as well. So I can look back at a month ago and see what I was grateful for or what I was thinking about a little bit more.
It's really interesting, because one of the things that I've realized as I'm doing these interviews is one of the common themes that has come out, which I really wasn't expecting, was the number of people, men and women, who are doing some sort of gratitude, whether it's in a journal or however they're capturing it, or if they're just thinking about it. And it just, well, it hadn't crossed my mind that there would be so many people doing it, and that it would be enough at the fore of their mind that they would be mentioning it, if you know what I mean. So I think it is really interesting that people are across the board, different businesses, different countries, different genders, all finding that really makes a difference.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, well, I guess because it works, and I think these sort of positive psychology habits are becoming a bit more popular, slightly more mainstream, I guess, which is a good thing.
Yeah, and I think, because I noticed back at the beginning of this year that, and I didn't think of it as gratitude. I thought of it more as a moment of joy, basically, where I'd realized that, and it is the silliest thing. The keyboard on my computer was not working, and I ordered a new one, and I got this one.
Right. Yeah.
Now, this was, I don't know, £16.67. This is not a huge expensive thing. But for some reason, when it arrived and I got it out and I tried it with my computer, one, it worked. And two, it makes a clackety clack noise. I really like this clackety clack noise. No idea why, but it just made me realize that in that moment when I was trying it and I was typing on it, that it was a moment of joy. And it was only small, but that we can really miss those little moments. And if you look back, you just think, oh yeah, I got a new keyboard, this happened, this happened. And so I tried really hard for a little while, I tried posting it. And now I just tend to think about it, but to really notice, okay, what was or were those little moments of joy in the day that just remind you that, yeah, these were small things, but, and I appreciate some people might think I'm weird in terms of liking the clackety clack noise.
We all like very strange things. Don't worry about it.
So,
no, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I think we live in such a sort of a busy world at the moment. We don't stop and appreciate what's good. And even if there is that cup of coffee in the morning, you know, those very, very small things. But you know, if we can't appreciate life, what's the point? Really, I suppose.
Yeah, it's very true. One of the things I noticed when I went down to Cornwall earlier this year was that I had gone somewhere with a really beautiful view, and I stopped for coffee one morning. I was planning on, reading my book while I was sitting there. And then I realized that I wasn't reading my book, that I was just sitting there and drinking my tea and watching the world go by. I was right by the sea. I was watching everybody on the beach. And it was just a realization of how easy it is to not be in that moment. And that was, I was just there. I was just enjoying it. I wasn't, sorry, I just got distracted by a dog licking my hand, who is clearly living in the moment. But it was that realization that sometimes you don't need to be doing something. You don't need a device. You just need to enjoy.
Yeah. You're stroking your dog.
Yes, that's right.
No, you're absolutely right. And funny enough, you were saying about have I had any challenges with wellbeing, nutrition? I think it is the challenges that I have had are more wellbeing based. So more of the being present is something that I've definitely struggled with. Just because I think a lot. I'm always kind of thinking about things, and it's just learning to not stop the thinking, but just take a step back from it. And
sorry, for those people listening, I'm being attacked by a dog. And Paul can see this, hence the laughter.
He just wants attention.
He does want attention.
Yeah, I guess I've just struggled to be present, and that's something that's been my sort of focus to work on. And I think it can help a lot.
So, Paul, if somebody was trying to put in a new habit, do you have any tips on, how best to start making changes, how to make some sort of shift? I know you mentioned the step ladder before.
Yeah. That's a good question. I think the first thing is to clarify your priorities. So kind of working out, not necessarily your goals, but yeah, kind of your goals and what you want to achieve. Then think about why. So why do you actually want to achieve that? And then maybe ask yourself why 2 or 3 more times, and trying to get to that sort of meaningful reason to why you want to achieve your goals. And then it really depends on the person. So I recommend sort of 2 weekly goals. So doing a habit for 2 weeks. So something small, simple, something that you're very confident you can do, but is still maybe a bit of a challenge. So it might be having a bit more protein at breakfast, or for someone a bit more advanced, they might change the whole breakfast. It might be exercising for 15 minutes 3 times a week, those sort of things. But yeah, something small, simple, and something you can maybe tick off each day for 2 weeks. At the end of the 2 weeks, you can kind of just assess how it's gone. Do you want to advance it? Do you want to make it easier? Or do you want to do something completely different? So yeah, I'd say focus on it for 2 weeks. Any longer, and you might just get a little bit bored, a bit distracted. Any shorter, and it's probably not enough time to get the feel for that habit. So yeah, I'd say 2 weeks, one habit, just nice and simple.
So really not setting yourself the goal of something that is really difficult and really in complete contrast to what you do today. It's being realistic about it and giving yourself a high probability of success.
I mean, this is something that I wouldn't say troubled with, but that's quite a strong word. But yeah, I mean, it depends on the circumstance. There are times when, I mean, I'd say most people just need to focus on small things that are realistic and they can achieve, and they can get those small wins where they've achieved those goals each day for 2 weeks, and then they feel good and they can move on. Obviously, there are going to be times where, with the certain people who will set big goals, and they need big goals to drive them. So it's just, I guess it's trying to work out who you are and what works for you first and foremost. Yeah, more so than the structure, I'd say.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that, because, you know, I know that I'm somebody who is better with small goals and is better with achieving. But I know other people who need that big goal and need almost that impossible challenge to feel that they rise to it. Whereas I'd rather have the impossible challenge broken down into little teeny steps that then get me to it, as opposed to just, you know, oh my God, I'll never be able to do that challenge.
Absolutely, yeah, and I totally agree with that. I think if you can set a big, exciting goal that means something to you, I think that's great. And if you can break that down into those smaller steps, those step ladders, even if that's 6 months or 2 years, I think that's probably the best combination.
So a nice balanced approach to it.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
So Paul, one of the other things I just wanted to touch on is you've also written a book, and I think it's a guide to being an outdoor trainer. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So when did you write that, and what made you decide to put that together?
Yeah, I can't remember when I wrote it. It's a good question. It was probably 2014, I guess, maybe.
Okay.
But I think I'd been an outdoor personal trainer for quite a while, and it's just one of those things that I wanted to, not for like a business perspective to make money or anything, but it's just something I want to do. So I did it. I think I just kind of wanted to put all my experience to paper, I guess. And if anyone got any benefit from it, then that would just be a bonus, really. It wasn't, I'm going to quit personal training and then this book's gonna make me rich.
So it was more about just sharing that you don't have to be locked in a gym. You can actually do the training outside, and the benefits of doing that. Is that?
Really, yeah. And I think it came down to that. Yeah, I think that when you're a fitness instructor or you're training to be a personal trainer, the direction that you're pointed towards is the gym. And that just didn't, I've never worked as a personal trainer in a gym, and it just didn't appeal to me. And there was nothing like that available in terms of just a small guide about how you could do it yourself, in people's houses, just those little things that you learn over the years doing it. It was kind of something that I wish I'd had when I first started.
One of those, if only I'd known.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. I mean, we've got to fail and experience ourselves, and it's how you learn. But if you can cheat a little bit, then it's better. I'd say.
Yeah, and I think it's also the balance is, if you can read, you know, various people's experiences on things, it's still then recognizing that was their experience and not necessarily yours. So somebody was talking to me recently about, I don't know, I think it's the 5 o'clock club or something, where the idea is that you get up at 5 a.m. every day and you do, you know, all of these things. And I remember just looking, and I said, do you know what? That's not me. And I appreciate that works for certain people, but I have no desire to be up at 5 o'clock doing things. I'm not productive early in the morning, and I don't think I ever have been. So I think it's recognizing that while you can take things from, whether it's somebody's book, whether it's somebody else's experience, it's then taking what makes sense and works for you.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think that goes the same with any sort of self-help book, is just taking what works for you, or what you think might work for you, taking the good bits, I'd say. Because even though I think it's all good, for someone else it's fine.
Well, I'm not going to become an outside trainer, so I can't really comment on it, at least not in the moment anyway. You'll count that as a real success, won't you? So, Paul, thank you very much. Just before we wrap up, is there anything that you want to say or that you'd like to say to anybody who's listening, whether it's just a tip, whether it's how to get hold of you, whatever you'd like?
I hadn't really thought this enough. Not really. I mean, if you want to find out any more about Habit and Health, just go to habitandhealth.com. At the moment, we're offering one-to-one training. It's all online, nutrition coaching, health coaching, based around behaviors and habits. And then hopefully my goal by the end of the summer / autumn time is to have my Look After Yourself course up and running. So it's a 12-week online course.
That's excellent, Paul. Thank you very much. And thank you for making the time to join me today.
Thank you very much. Cheers, Deborah.
Thank you. You've been listening to Deborah Levitt on Bridging Gaps, the Business Podcast.